Hey, Jacob Sekeli here, and welcome to Volume 2 of the Improviser's Guide to the Cello, the major scale and its modes. I can remember as a kid falling in love with the blues and rock and then jazz, and checking out every recording I could while simultaneously looking at all of the various method and theory books that were out there. It became pretty obvious to me early on, though, that I needed to approach the unique challenges of the cello before I could really utilize all of the great information that are in those books. And after spending a lifetime of working on my sound and also helping other aspiring improvisers, it's become apparent to me that one of the biggest challenges we face in converting this information lies at the heart of our technique: scales. So, what's wrong with the way we play scales now? Well, to demonstrate, I'd like to play a scale in E-flat major with a fingering from the Fouillard book. Now, that scale may be well and good if we're working towards repertoire-based playing. In other words, we work on shifting. There's at least 4 or 5 shifts, right, in that scale. And we can work on intonation, playing through the different registers and positions on our instrument. So there's a lot of valuable things about that scale. Unfortunately, that scale does not lend itself very well to resequencing of the notes, and so it lets us down miserably when we try to use it to improvise. So, what makes the Improviser's Guide different? Well, first of all, the Improviser's Guide is a full-range, position-based approach. When we watch great improvising guitarists, electric bass players, or violinists, we notice the economy of motion in their hands. In other words, when they're soloing, they're not playing up and down one string very much, but generally staying in position or playing from one position to another. The Improviser's Guide allows us to use and focus on this same economy of motion, while emphasizing a full range approach, meaning playing from the lowest possible note to the highest possible note available in that key in any given position. Secondly, we'll be using a visual shape-based approach. This system, which my students have affectionately nicknamed Jacob's Ladder, will allow you to use just 3 simple hand shapes to navigate the entire fingerboard no matter what key you're playing in. Usually, when we're students after the first year and we ditch the tapes on our fingerboard, most string players stop using that ever-critical visual spatial part of the brain to imagine the shapes and patterns on our fingerboard. In this way, Jacob's Ladder is a lot more similar to traditional guitar pedagogy than to a lot of the string teaching that we grew up on. Thirdly, this approach is formulaic. When we're improvising, particularly in genres like jazz, where the keys are changing really quickly, it's critical for us to be able to switch keys and scales without having to think too much. The great improviser Stevie Ray Vaughan once said, "Whenever I've had to think on stage, that's when I've gotten into trouble." With Jacob's Ladder, we'll learn a simple formula to be able to play in any key, anywhere on the neck without having to think. That will allow us to be more creative and spontaneous on stage, and will open up the door to us giving our best performance. The Improviser's Guide isn't really a scale book or a method. It was my attempt to take a look at the unique challenges we face as cello players. So rather than repackaging general theory and material that you could basically find anywhere else, I wanted to help you bridge the gap between the music you're really passionate about and this instrument. Let's get started.